Hello everybody, I'm Don Counts. Welcome into Fayetteville Public Utilities. I have our CEO, General Manager Britt Dye with us. Britt, let's do a little update on some of the construction going on around town. I know you keep up with it every day with the contractors, so let's just give everybody an update on where we at and what's going on.
Well, we're still working on First Avenue. We got a lot of service connections we have to make over on that street. We're cutting down Scenic, getting ready to finish up laying pipe, the main line pipe on Scenic. We're getting ready to start on Hatcher, and then we'll move over on to Swanson. That goes all the way over to First Avenue from Bellevue, that direction. So a lot of work going on in that area. I know it's aggravating, as I have said, of the entire project so far. But, you know, just be patient with us. We're making a lot of system improvements to improve a lot of different things for the water infrastructure. So we got to come back, and then after we get all the service connections made, after all the lines have got to be tested and chlorinated and back T done and all those, which takes a long time to get all that done to be completely finished in an area.
I know one thing that you have harped on from the beginning and had to keep an eye on is, number one, the roads. Number two, now we're in spring, now we're having to take care of the yards. Yeah,
we got a lot of yards that we got to fix up too, because we put new meter boxes in with meters and replacing the service lines to the meters that, you know, over to the customers. And, you know, they'll be back to get the yards cleaned up, just like we're doing the same thing at Twin Oaks and Country Club, and now working some out at Timberlake on the underground. And, you know, it's just, I know, like I said, it's just aggravating, and we apologize for it, but it's got to be done.
The last thing you mentioned was part of the new fiber build. You might talk a little bit about that.
Right. We're in, like I said, we had Twin Oak, Country Club, Timberlake. We're doing some splicing on the fiber in some of those areas, but we cannot offer the fiber hookup until all the splicing is done and the system is tested.
Okay. So I've already heard from some of the customers in that area. They're excited about having fiber here in the city. It's the first phase of the build, of the fiber build from where you started. You might talk about how we began in the internet business and where we're at today.
Well, when we first went into the broadband business, actually we were just going to get in the cable business back in 1999. And then we decided in the business plan that we would just go ahead and offer the internet service. But you know, a lot of things have changed, new technology, what's available today, the expense of the off-air programming that played a big part in us making the decision of getting out of the cable part of the business. But I'm glad we did. We're where we need to be right now with what we offer, you know, with all this high-speed internet. So we're proud to offer that service.
It was a natural progression for us to ease out of that, because now most people are watching streaming apps and all that, and all the years we heard people complain about cable cost, they're probably paying more now than they were before.
Yeah, but you know, you get a lot more too.
True.
And you know, when you're using fiber and looking at television shows or sports or anything, it just brings a whole different thing to the value of what we're offering, you know. So it's really good.
We have seen so much in mine and your lifetime. Technology has just gotten better and better and better, and it's mind blowing actually. But in the last few years, it's just incredible.
Yeah, it is, and it's going to keep changing, and we have to keep up with it. You know, to be sure that we're meeting all the standards of what the customers are wanting for us to offer. You know, there are limits of what we can do, but at the same time, you know, make us aware of something that you know that might be out there that we're not aware of, but. That could be the case as well, but we're going to try to stay on top of all the new technologies.
It's hard to stay ahead, but when you're talking about just in the electric field, I'm sure you know in the next 20 years there's going to be major changes in that area.
Yeah, the electric side of the business is becoming more complex, you know, especially with the grid, all the data centers, having enough generation to provide enough power for the grid, and TVA is making several changes. And, you know, we have to be ready to adapt to a lot of those changes, because that's the only place that we can purchase our power from.
Yeah, we hear a lot about the grid and how the grid's full. But as you have built substations in the past, they were built right back in the day, because much of that infrastructure is still being used today after all those years.
It is, and it's going to be just like replacing, you know, the water infrastructure or the sewer infrastructure. The the electric infrastructure is going to have to be replaced, and that's some of the things that we're doing now is replacing and adding more three-phase according to how much load we got to pick up to be prepared. But yeah, it's going to come that day where you're going to have to be spending lots more money of replacing the electrical infrastructure because it don't last forever either.
And the cost is just unbelievable. And I'm sure it was expensive 50, 60 years ago, but it's even more so now.
Well, I know when we built the Hamilton substation, we built several, but I know the biggest one we built was Hamilton. You know, you're talking about close to $3.5 million, and that was in the late 90s, and now you're talking about the same size substation, you're talking around $10 to $12 million. So, yeah, it's changed quite a bit.
You also built the one out in front of Stovall's on the line of road?
We built that one on that river. We built the industrial Park substation. We built one at Macburg. We built one at Park City, and built one at Copperwell.
That had to be, took a lot of time to build those. It looked like it was a pretty big facility, I guess you'd call it.
It is, but you know, at the time, like I said, when you build something, you try to compare for the future, which we did. But we've had a lot of growth in some areas, and we're glad we have it. But at the same time, you know, we had to be made aware of it in plenty of time because, you know, you heard me say before, getting substation transformers is 4 to 5 years out, if you can get it then. Getting permission from TVA to come in and do an environmental study if you're trying to get another delivery point at 161, that's another 2 or 3 years, and it's a long-term process.
Yep, and a whole lot to do before we're done out of here. I know you're talking about maybe, what are you thinking, maybe 2 more substations?
Well, we're looking possibility of 2 more substations. We have our request turned into TVA already, and which said they got to go through the study, and I don't expect an answer anytime soon. The only way that you can get something quick is if it's a short span built primary from TVA, or if you're going to have to add additional loading to get one of the primary substations from TVA. So, and they also have to make a tie to be sure it don't affect anything else on the grid.
How do you prepare for that cost?
Well, right now, you know, with our reserve funds, you know, we can get some of it, but sometimes you have to go back to the bond market and borrow money,
Okay.
you know, to get it done that way too.
All right. Let's talk about natural gas. Natural gas is another big infrastructure that we have here. We have 2 delivery points, I think.
We do, one from Ardmore and one from up there around going toward Lynchburg.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing about that is you are continuing to build some natural gas lines, I think, on Old Huntsville Highway.
We are. We're expanding on Old Huntsville Highway out in that area, you know, for having some more customers. It's looking at hooking up to natural gas, so we're expanding in that area right now is what we're trying to get that job completed.
That's good for them. The Natural Gas Workers Day was on March 19th. We honor those employees that provide safe, dependable natural gas to the community, and we're very lucky. When you think about natural gas, it's something that industry uses pretty heavy too.
It is, and you know, we got some big gas users, industry-wise, small commercial. You know, we just had our lunch and learn with industry and commercial customers, and learned a great deal. They learned a great deal. A lot of them has asked for additional information to help them save on their energy. So, looking at a lot of different things of helping our customers more than give them the best that we can.
And when you're talking about the lunch and learn thing, the best thing about that was we got to have one-on-one conversation not only with TVA but with yourself and the actual people that are at the industry, and that's a very good open communication thing that's very important.
It is, and you know, we have a lot of different programs, and they call. We help them get all the paperwork filled out to get some incentives and those kinds of things if they meet all the requirements, and you know, it really helps them out.
The Tennessee Line Workers Appreciation Day in 2023, the Tennessee became the first state in the nation to have adopting the Line Worker Appreciation Day, and this year will be on April 13th, coming up next month. I know we're at the end of the month of March. March kind of blew in here, and now we're going straight into April. But FPU salutes the dedicated utility line workers who face extreme weather and challenging conditions to keep the utilities flowing, and I know you're proud of the line workers that we have here, and you work with them on a daily basis.
I do, and all of our employees, the hazards that they have to go through, the jobs that they do, and I know that the line crew is talked about a lot, but we still have the same on the water and gas and telecom, water plants, wastewater plants. I know I'm gonna miss some, but they're all very, very valuable in every aspect of the job that they perform. And it's up to us to be sure that they go home the same way they showed up for work that day.
Yep, safety is a really big deal. We have, I think we've had like 2 safety meetings this week, seems like, but that's something that you talk about every day. You might talk a little bit about some of our safety programs.
Well, our safety programs, you got the hurt man rescue, you got your in a manhole type things that we had to cover, bloodborne pathogens that we had to cover. All those, as far as what the safety of how it can hurt an individual or a customer or anything like that. But we also have to go through driving, training, safety, all those. And, but safety, you can't emphasize enough on safety of how safe we got to be to do our everyday job. And it does take up time of not being in the field working all the time, but, there's nothing no more important than an employee's life.
Absolutely. Well, April is National Safe Digging Month, and this is the time we try to remind people, which we tell them all year long, but if you're going to do any digging, you need to call 811, because I know you deal with this, it's on your plate every day where somebody didn't maybe make that call.
That's right, and if you dig into somewhere and you didn't get a locate and you tear up a service of any kind, it's going to end up costing you, and it is very costly depending on how bad it is. And it happens all the time that if the customer would just call 811 to get a locate, and that way you have met all the rules, and that way if you do dig into something, it doesn't cost you. But if you do not call in and get a locate and you dig into something, you could be putting in a dog fence, because your broadband's not buried very deep. It meets the requirements, and it could be really costly.
Absolutely. So call 811 if you're going to do any digging. I don't care how deep you're digging. At least 3 days prior to any digging project, even installing a mailbox, as you said, a dog fence, and any kind of underground utilities underground. And nowadays you can get killed. There's a lot of places, which I know many of them, it's got electric underground.
Yeah, we got 7,200 volts. We got 14.4 volts. You got live gas lines underground. You got sewer. You got water. So a lot of times you might not have no idea there's nothing going through my yard, but you'll be surprised what we find that we didn't know was out there either. So we also, doing all of our work that we're doing, we have to call 811 to get everything located.
One thing that you're working on too that's a great thing is in the past, I've seen cards and things written about where things are, but hopefully the future you're going to have a mapping program for the next 50 years of people to kind of know more about what's underground.
That's right, and we're updating all of our maps with all the new water infrastructure. We have some map information, but it's only as good as it is if it's correct.
Yep.
So we have to be sure of that too. So we're fixing to deal with that with Petersburg, and we're still finding out a lot of things, not only in town here in the city, but we're going to have it everywhere that we go.
Yep. I think some of your people out in the field have iPads now. They can actually see the map and and they work on that and update it. I mean, like I say, we've come a long way, but back when you did it, you was hoping and guessing a lot of times.
Yeah, you had a paper map that you had to carry in the truck with you all the time, but
I didn't know.
Now with all the iPads and like all the people that work outside's got iPads, but GPS and the infrastructure as well. But yeah, back in the day it was all hand drawn and those kinds of things. It's still real good information.
Sure.
But just again, it's that new technology that we use today. So.
With Easter coming up, there'll be a lot of cooking going on this weekend, so we want to talk to everybody about the fats, oils, and grease that you will accumulate, and we really do not need them to put it down the drain. We want you to put it in the trash.
Put it in the trash. Same thing with wipes and all those kinds of things as well, causes problems in the sewer system. Especially, you know, we done already experienced problems in our new wastewater where we have replaced a lot of the sewer lines and where people are putting grease down the drain, and it causes everybody else an issue.
Yeah. What happens when the grease, I guess, it actually turns hard, and then it's hard to get through the pipes, and it's very difficult. It turns into a white gooey stuff, and it makes the pipes smaller. And I know y'all deal with that all the time. We have cameras that go down in there to look at them, and it's very important to try not to put your grease down the drain if at all possible, and put it in the trash. That's where it belongs. Then wipes in general, that's another whole deal. The sewer system that's out on the bypass is a very a green, very environmentally friendly system. It's been there for a long time, built before our time actually, and still working to this day.
It is, and you know the water plant as well. But
that's true.
You know you got to meet so many requirements on the TDEC side with EPA, and you know that water's got to go out clean in the river, and you know the more of that stuff, the more it takes to filter it, the more it takes to treat it, and especially when you have a lot of rainwater that comes in sometimes, and you know. If people will help us, it'll make the infrastructure last a lot longer.
Yeah, the interesting thing I think you said is the water has got to go to the river cleaner than what we got it.
That is exactly right.
So we're cleaning it up as we go, which is a pretty big task. The move over law is also a big thing. We see so many distracted drivers. There's so many things, not just a cell phone, but cars and people doing things. But we want people to please move over when you're going through a construction zone, anywhere where our guys or gals are out working, because it's so dangerous.
You know, it just amazes me with all the work that we've been having going on inside the city. It's out in the country too, but you know, in the city especially, we got so many cones and barrels and signs, and how many people run over them, run through them, almost hit some of our workers, and you know, it's just it just amazes me how people just don't pay attention.
Yeah, we have a lot of rules that you make sure that we do, and that's wear our orange vest and our hard hats and all the things. And we ask people to please be careful. We want the people to go home like they came in, but you know, you're literally feet away from a car that's going by at 30 and 40 miles an hour.
That's exactly right. You know, it's you don't never know how bad it is until it happens. And I remember back several years ago, I was involved in something like that, and we had two people that didn't leave that night alive. And I'm gonna tell you, it's not a good situation. It's not something good to experience. And I guarantee you, if it were somebody that hit them, you're not gonna like the outcome either.
Yeah, well, that's true. You got to live with it, and you had to live with it yourself, which is terrible. And I hate for those people who passed away, but that kind of thing can happen anytime. And no matter how much we harp on it, you know, we try our best to try to tell people to please be careful and drive careful through our zones. At least just slow down a little bit. Everybody seems to be in such a hurry. Let's talk about TVA home energy rebates. You mentioned a little bit about these earlier with business and industry, but if you want more information on what he was talking about earlier, our number's 433-1522. You might talk a little bit about that.
Well, you know, we do a lot for the school systems, and especially with the STEM and all those, you know, with the industry. And so there's several things that we do offer. It's on the website. But, you know, if you ever got a question about something, just call in and talk to Nikki. Nikki Tucker is overseeing that program with your key accounts. So just holler at Nikki, and she'll get you in the right direction of what needs to happen.
Absolutely. Youth Leadership Summit happened lately. Ben Reeves, and he was from Lincoln County High School, and then Lily Terrell, she was from RCA. They were selected to attend TECA's, Tennessee Electric Cooperative Association's 2026 Youth Leadership Summit in Nashville. And that took place on March 16th through the 18th. They seemed like they had a good time.
Yeah, I believe they had a good time, and you know, they represented Fayetteville Public Utilities very well, but they also represented Fayetteville Lincoln County very well. So we're really proud of those two that went up and done that, and they learned a lot, and glad that they was able to do it.
Yep, they had a hands-on look at state government, got to meet some of the people you deal with, like Clay Doggett and Pat Marsh, and those people that you deal with. They got to see them, and It's a good program, and I'm proud to be a part of that, and I'm proud those guys got to go. Our Student Utility Board is something that started, I think, in 2010. You started that, and it has been a very good program. We've been fortunate enough to have been able to hire some of these young people, but also they've went on and done well. It's hard to
Yes,
believe.
they all have done very well, and you know, we offer the scholarship through the program too, and but some of them do work part-time through the summer. We got one right now working part-time a little bit and
That's right.
learning a lot, but you know, we've got 3, I believe, that we've hired so far off the Student Utility Board in the past, and working out very well for us, and we're real proud of them.
So if you have a child or grandchild attending, going to be a senior next year, you can see your high school guidance counselor about getting in that program. If it's not already done, it may be already done, I'm not sure. Well, we are getting ready to, like I've mentioned a couple of times about Easter coming up, so we're off on Good Friday, but Fayetteville Public Utilities is basically a system that's running 24 hours a day, year-round.
24/7, and you know, we're here. Somebody needs something or emergency or anything, you know, call 1522, and we're ready to go to work, but we are closed on Friday. Easter this weekend, so hope everybody has a good Easter and be safe.
We thank you for all you do, and we appreciate our customers. Anything else before we go?
No, I just appreciate everybody's patience. Again, I know we're digging up yards, streets, all those places in town, but you know, when you got infrastructure that's 100 years old, older than what you need out there, and we're just trying to get it where it needs to be.
All right. Britt Dye, our CEO, General Manager here at Fayetteville Public Utilities. We will see you back in here next month for another edition of our CEO Update.